guys, welcome to Stacking the Shelves, the first one in a long time. I'm not even going to try to guess. It's probably been a couple months since I've done a Stacking the Shelves. As I explained in my best books of the month post last week, we have a lot going on. We bought a second house that we're dealing with. We had some car issues, both things that were broken on the car and an Amazon driver running his car into our garage door that we're dealing with. And then I forgot to mention in that video that I also had my laptop that I edit my videos on die. So we were able to recover the hard drive, but I had to get a new laptop, and then I'm working on getting everything transferred over to that. So time to do a Stacking the Shelves, trying to get back to doing some occasional videos. I do not promise that they will happen with any regularity. But this is what I got for books in the last couple months. No review books. I haven't really been looking for review books right now, but I do have some audiobooks and some books that I borrowed from both the library and Kindle Unlimited. For audiobooks, the first one I had borrowed was The Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. This is the first in a series. I think it's a trilogy about a young woman who runs a magical museum, and her family decides it's time for her to get married off. And she is a bit older. She is in her, I think, her mid upper 20s. And they've found a husband for her in the far north, and she gets sent up to the far north with him. And she's trying to figure out why he's trying to keep their marriage a secret. She's trying to learn about him, all that kind of stuff. And it is kind of a world where like magic, most magic, like really active magic, has gone out of existence, but some of the people themselves are magical and have magical abilities. Is kind of like something that's lingered from the more magical ages. I did not finish this because I borrowed it from the library. I had it for a limited amount of time, and I just did not ever find myself wanting to listen to it. I listened to about half the book when I was driving and stuff like that, but then just ended up returning it because I just didn't enjoy it very much. It was really slow. You spend half the book, you spend like the girl journeys up to the north, and that was pretty boring. And then you spend a lot of time with her being hidden away in various estates, and like she finds out little bits of things, but she was just very passive and moved really slow, and I just did not enjoy it at all. And may have got better in the second half, I don't know, but I couldn't renew my library rental of it, and I didn't really want to wait to get it again, and I wasn't that interested in it. So little mini review on a lot of these because I have finished most of them. The second audiobook I got was A Mirror Mended by Alex E. Haro, and this is the second book in the Fractured Fables series. I think it's also the final one because the way it wraps up, I don't see how they would have any more. This was a pretty quick audiobook, and it's kind of about, this one was more like, the first one was like more an extension on like Sleeping Beauty. This one was more like Cinderella-esque, I think. And it's about a girl who has a chronic disease who ends up kind of in the first book, she pricks her finger on a spinning wheel, ends up in an alternative reality Sleeping Beauty tale, and she is trying to go and save those person. She finds out in the first book that like her journey into these parallel realities resets her chronic illness, so she's not going to die now. And so then she kind of makes it her goal to like just travel to all these parallel realities to save these princesses from their fairy tales. So this was a lot of her journey into like different Cinderella myths, but there's a little bit of a twist in this one, and ends up kind of different. You get to see a little bit more from the villain side, and that's all I'll say about that. I enjoyed it. I like both of these books. I really like fairy tale retellings, and this kind of was like a little spin on them. I thought it was fun. It was a quick read, and I enjoyed it. All right, the third audiobook I got was The Poisoner's Ring, which is the second book in a Rip Through Time series by Kelly Armstrong. Kelly Armstrong has two time travel series going on right now. One is a Stitch in Time, and one is a Rip Through Time. This one was in the Rip Through Time series, and this is about a investigative detective who wakes up after getting hit in the head. She thinks she thought she had gotten killed, but she wakes up in the first book, she's been hurt, and she's in an alley, and she's in a different body, and she ends up finding out that she's in Victorian Scotland. And somehow, some way, she ended up being attacked in the alley in the current present time and appearing in this young maid's, Victorian maid's body in Victorian Scotland. She ends up that it is if she's the maid for a guy who's he'd be a mortuary scientist right now, but back then it's kind of a new science. So he investigates dead bodies for crimes to see what caused the death. Her investigative detective background really helps with this. And so the Poisoner's Ring was about her trying to help him investigate a bunch of poison deaths of men. And they think that maybe there's a woman providing poison for wives to kill their husbands with. I actually didn't like this very much. And I didn't really like the first book in the series either. So if you're a big fan of the first book in the series, you'll probably like the second one a lot. I actually wasn't going to keep reading the series, but a novella came out called Cocktails and Chloroform that I'd read. I got it from NetGalley for review without knowing it was part of the Rip Through Time series. And I really liked that novella, and I thought, well, maybe I should give this series another chance. And so I picked up the second book in it, and it's just too slow for me. There just isn't much that happens. I feel like the characters are a little stiff, and I just didn't enjoy it. I much more enjoy her Stitch in Time series, which is about a series of sisters that fall back through a stitch in time that's in this manor house and end up involved with various lords there. That one is a little bit more romancy, but I just enjoy the characters more, and I enjoy that it's like a little bit more adventure and stuff like that. And those these Rip Through Time ones are very much like investigative detective, almost like police procedurals, right? So like it's a lot of them running from place to place to gather clues and then trying to figure out who did it. And there is a little bit of a twist about her being from the future, but I just feel like that doesn't weigh on the story as much as I think it would, and it's kind of shoved to the background. So it kind of ends up being just like a Scottish Victorian mystery, and it moved kind of slow. So anyways, I wasn't a huge fan of that. And then the last audiobook that I borrowed from the library was This Poison Heart, which is the first book in This Poison Heart series by Kaylin Bayron. This is a young adult contemporary like urban fantasy series about a young woman who has power over plants and finds out that she's immune to all poisons. And she I'm not sure, there's like a big thumping, and who knows, it's my son obviously in his room doing something. Anyways, I have really been liking this so far. I'm not quite done with it. I think I have a couple hours left to listen to, but I love the main character. She's very funny. Lives with two moms, and they're very funny, and they're trying to, she basically finds out she has this, well, she's known for a long time she has this magic power of plants. She finds out she's inherited an estate in like rural New York, and so her and her moms leave Brooklyn and move out to rural New York, and she gets involved in this huge mystery around this estate and these plants, and it's just really funny. It's very well written, very entertaining. There's all these crazy things going on that she's trying to figure out, and so far I've been really, really, really liking it. So yeah, as far as it was kind of like, of all these audiobooks that I got, so far This Poison Heart, the one I'm listening to right now, has been my favorite. All right, then I did get a number of books that I either borrowed from the library or through Kindle Unlimited. Let me see how many I have here. 8. I think there's 10 of them. The first one that I borrowed from the library was The Brothers Hawthorne, which is the 4th book in the Hawthorne Legacy, by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And I really love that series. I like all the little puzzles and mysteries they have to figure out. And The Brothers Hawthorne is from Grayson and Jameson's point of view. And you kind of they're dealing with two different issues. Grayson is dealing with the family he found, and Jameson's dealing with his dad that he found out, found his dad finally. And they're very well done. I really love those characters. I think Jennifer Lynn Barnes does a great job creating these like intricate scavenger puzzles that the characters have to figure out. And so really love that one too. The second one I got from the library was A Curse for True Love, which is the 3rd and final book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber. This one I have mixed feelings about. It ties up the series nicely. It just took some turns at the end that I felt made it lose some urgency. It was just like, okay, whatever, now it's done. I don't know. I liked a lot of the book, like I liked the beginning of the book, but then as you get into it more, I just thought it kind of fizzled a little bit for me, but it did a fine job of tying series. Again, that's like a young adult fantasy series. The 3rd book I got is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I'm a big fan. At least I thought I was a big fan of Adrienne Young, but I went back and was looking at all my reviews, and I have kind of mixed reviews for all of her books. But this one is about a woman. She's older. She's in her 30s, I think, and all the women in her lineage eventually develop some sort of disorder where they go insane, or they start to be living in two times at once, two like eras at once, or something like that. So they flicker in and out of reality. And this young woman is trying to figure out, like, she's lived her whole life knowing that when by the time she gets to her mid-30s, she's going to go insane. And so she hasn't really been planning much for a future, but she finds out some information that makes her really start to dig into this more and try to figure out, like, why is this happening to the women in their lineage. It was okay. It does end up involving a lot of time travel aspects, which I'm never a huge fan of time travel, because if you think about it too hard, it never quite works out right. Like, if you think about all the variables going on and how characters in the past are affecting characters in the future and everything, I just feel like it never works. But it was okay. It was an interesting concept. It was not my favorite Adrienne Young book. I think I gave it like 3.5 or 3 stars, so it was okay. The next book I borrowed from the library is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. I really love this one. This one was, if you like adventure fantasy, this one was fantastic. It features older characters. They're like in their 40s, I think, which I'm in my 40s, so I appreciated that. And it was very well done. You get to go on a lot of adventures. The characters are hilarious. There's a lot of considerations. They're all older, so they're trying to balance families with, keeping themselves safe and meeting their goals and going into these risky situations. And I just thought it was very well done, which was interesting for me because I have not picked up any of Chakraborty's books since The City of Brass, because I did not like The City of Brass. I thought it was really boring. But this one I absolutely loved, and I plan on continuing it. So I've seen it on a lot of best of whatever fantasy books of the year list. If you like fantasy adventure, pick it up, because it was really well done. Okay, the next one I borrowed from Kindle Unlimited this time was The Midlife Magical Battle, which is the 8th book in the Leveling Up series by K.F. Breen. This is a paranormal series about a woman who inherits this old house. She finds out that it turns her into a magical gargoyle and that she can do magic, and she ends up calling these shapeshifter gargoyles to her. And it's a very hilarious, quirky group of characters. They're all, again, older. And they're trying to, she's trying to learn how to use Elf's magic and everything. In the 8th book here, they're ramping up for a pretty big battle against another shapeshifter territory. I'm in the middle of reading this right now. I think I'm about 30% of the way through it. And this one's been longer than other ones because she's jumping between a lot of different points of view, which I don't know is very necessary for this series, but it's kind of interesting to see all the characters' points of view because they're all really out there. So yeah, that's that one. Next one I borrowed from the library. Again, that's The Hunting Moon, which is the 2nd book in the Luminary series by Susan Dennard. This is another one I didn't enjoy as much as the first one. This is a young adult paranormal book about a small town where all the people in town are organized into like hunting tribes: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they all take a day of the week where they go hunt in the forest to protect people from monsters, or nightmares they call them. And supposedly that whole town is helping to suppress an ancient god or eldritch power that could attack the rest of the world if it ever gets out of control, but that's what they do. I was also a little bit disappointed in this one. I felt like the beginning of the book was really slow. We hear a lot of what's going on in the main protagonist's head. She underwent quite a bit of trauma at the end of the other book, got attacked, almost died, all this stuff. And she spends a lot of this book just thinking about that and being upset that people in the town aren't more upset when these violent things happen. That is not what I thought the second book was going to be, but that's a good part of the first half of the book. And then the second half of the book, she gets more drawn back into the mystery of why her dad disappeared, and drawn back into the forest itself to try to figure some things out about the nightmare. That part of the book I did enjoy more. And so in the end, I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't absolutely love it like I liked the first book in the series, The Luminaries, because it was just, the pacing was really off throughout the book, but I did think it ended up in a good place, and I'm eager to see where the series goes. All right. Speaking of Kelly Armstrong, which we talked about a few books ago, the next book I borrowed from the library is A Castle in the Air, which is the fourth book in her A Stitch in Time series. And this is supposed to be the final book in that series for now. She did leave open that she could be adding more books to the series, but this does feature the final sister of that group of sisters. And it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. It's about Portia, the sister who is the one who studies to be a medical doctor. She's very science driven. She very much has accepted that she's not going to go on these time traveling adventures. But then one of her sisters Miranda, doesn't appear on time. She ends up falling through the stitch in time and back into, I think it's 100 years in the past, where she runs into a highwayman and gets involved with this Lord of Raven's Keep. Again, there is quite a bit of romance in here, but there's also a really good mystery and some adventure and things like that. And so I really enjoyed this one a ton. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I'm not sure why I love this series so much more than the A Rip Through Time series, but I really do love this series. All right. And the next 3, I will not give many reviews on because I haven't read them yet. So, whoops, I just kicked my tripod. So from Kindle Unlimited, I got By a Silver Thread, which is the first book in the DFC Changeling series by Rachel Aaron. This kind of builds off of the Heartstriker series and the DFC series, both which I really, really loved. I love this world that she's built there and the characters. So I'm excited to start a new series in that world with some different characters. Yeah, so I borrowed that, haven't read it yet. Hopefully I'll be reading that relatively soon. The next book I got from Kindle Unlimited as well, and that is Dustmourn, which is the 4th book in the Cambrio Spring series by Elizabeth Hunter. I absolutely loved the first 3 books in the Cambrio Spring series. Again, these feature older characters. It's a paranormal series. Each one kind of features a couple, and then there's also like a mystery involved, so they are more paranormal romance. I just think they're so well done, and I really love the community of Cambrio Springs and all the characters, so I was really excited to see that she had written another book in the series about one of the characters that I really wanted to read about. So very happy to get that. And then the last book I got is Princess of Potential by Dellamhawk, and this features, so I mentioned, maybe I didn't, I think in my best books I mentioned the House Witch series by Dellamhawk, which is a very cozy fantasy with like a lot of magic and some funny characters. Princess of Potential features one of the king and the queen of that world, their daughter when she's grown up. That's what this book is about. So it's a kind of a spin-off book from the House Witch series, which I'm very excited to read. So that's that. I am working on getting some more review books here eventually. I am pretty caught up on review books, but I didn't have them yet. So that's what I have. And this is already a fairly long video, so I think I'll wrap it up there. If you want a little life update or whatever, you can go to my Best Books of the Month video, and kind of halfway through that video, I give a little bit of a life update about what we've been doing with buying a second house up in northern Minnesota and all of that fun stuff, and dealing with, as I said, Amazon drivers crashing into our garage door because they don't put their car in park when they get out of it, and destroying our garage door. All that fun stuff has been going on in the last month. So it's been a little bit crazy around here, but things should be calming down, we hope, soon. Anyways, all right. I hope you guys also got a lot of great books to read and that you have a wonderful holiday season. And I will hopefully talk to you next month. But as I said, I'm not making any promises. I've been real busy, so I'll catch up when I can. Have a great time reading, and I will talk to you later. Bye.